It's March 28th, 2012, day 10 of filming Survivor's 25th season. We're in the Caramoan Islands of the Philippines at the end of an intense tribal immunity challenge between the three tribes, Tandang, Calabao, and Matsing. If Matsing loses this challenge, they will have lost all of the first 4 challenges of the season and would secure themselves as one of the worst tribes in Survivor history. However, these losers winning would stop the season-long momentum of one of the other 2 tribes, and could possibly flip the game around as a last gasp of hope for Matsing's 3 remaining players. The result of this challenge will not only dictate who will be the 4th person voted out of the game, but, unbeknownst to everyone, also give birth to a never-before-seen Survivor strategy. But before we discuss that, we need to know who these tribes consist of, and why whichever tribe losing this challenge will either cement or reverse the legacies of the 3 returning players on this cast. Let's rewind. The last thing that any of the 3 remaining Matsing members want to do is lose another member. And although it may seem like everyone on this tribe only knows failure, that's not the case at all for their tribe leader, Russell Swan. You see, on this season of Survivor, each tribe has one member who has played the game before. Back on season 19, Samoa, Russell dominated the game. Wait, no, not this Russell, the other Russell, Russell Hantz. Survivor Samoa's pre-merge portion of the game was a good versus evil story between 2 guys named Russell, both of whom were the leader of their tribes, whether by being elected like Swan,
Alright, Russell is the leader of Galoo.
or by rising to power like Hantz.
They'll run when I tell them to run. They'll walk when I tell them to walk. When I'm finished with them, just throw them in the trash.
While Hantz was pouring out his own tribe's water supply and making sometimes pointless double deals with everyone he possibly could, Swan took a different approach. He was Galoo's charismatic Mr. Nice Guy chief who rallied them to an amazing 6-2 record in challenges. He gave his all at camp, at times to the point where his tribemates were concerned with Swan possibly overexerting. Still, it was clear that Swan brought out the best in those around him, while Hantz tried his best to push them down. At the peak of Galoo's success during the season's 9th challenge, Russell Swan reached his breaking point and collapsed, blacked out, and was forced to be medically evacuated from the game. Even in a show as brutal as Survivor, the host Jeff Probst described that moment as the scariest moment he's ever had on any season. Swan's removal from the game gave Hantz's tribe Foa the momentum they needed to infiltrate Galoo at the merge and surmount one of Survivor's all-time biggest comebacks, with Hantz going on to become a Survivor icon despite not winning the season. Many think that if Swan wouldn't have gone down in that Day 15 immunity challenge, that Galoo wouldn't have fallen apart at the merge, and that Swan would have been a frontrunner to win. Admittedly, it's a huge what if, but Russell Swan had a chance to start anew with his 2nd chance in Survivor Philippines. Yeah, we both know how that's gone so far. Russell hasn't had the same luck in challenges this season, as his tribe is down from its original 6 members to its current 3. Although Russell has been able to survive his tribe's first 3 tribal councils, he isn't exactly in the great position that he was in Samoa. He's received votes at 2 of the 3 tribals he's attended, and his repeated failure to climb a ladder at the most recent immunity challenge on day 8 was nearly enough for his tribe to send him home. Even going back to day 3 of this season, Russell's inability to not take control led to Swan forcing unwilling members of his tribe to be the puzzle solvers during the season's first immunity challenge, which, of course, Matsing lost.
I want you 2 to do the puzzle. I know you might be panicking.
Right, so I think that why do people who
hold on. Just bear with me.
Russell's not-so-dominant challenge presence this season might be why he's not in the hero role during this one's most crucial moment. In the final leg of this challenge, it's not Russell doing the pot smash, but Malcolm, a first-time Survivor player who is quickly becoming a fan favorite. Putting Matsing on his back on the road to their first victory would certainly accelerate his superstar trajectory. Strategically, he's currently in a tight alliance with the 3rd Matsing member, Denise. When you do the math, it doesn't take a genius to realize that if Matsing loses their 4th straight, Russell's in big trouble at a tribal council where it will only take 2 votes to go home. No worries though, Matsing is in their closest challenge yet. All they need to do is beat one of the 2 other teams to avoid tribal council. That's more easily said than done against the 2 dominant tribes this season, Calabao and Tandang. Like Matsing, both of these other tribes have a returning player who was medically evacuated in a previous season. On Tandang, his name is Michael Scoopin, Although Survivor's viewership has declined since its premiere in 2000, Scoopin is a name that even the earliest fans can remember. Back in Season 2, the Australian Outback, Scoopin was the unopposed leader of his tribe Kucha since the first tribal council of the season.
Roger, leadership come up? Did anybody emerge as a leader?
Yes, I would say probably Mike has.
At camp, he was one of the best providers in Survivor history, managing to track down and savagely kill a wild pig with only a knife. Although Mike led Kucha to a 6-4 record in challenges against the opposing tribe Ogakor, Kucha found themselves down one member going into what seemed to be the final tribal immunity of the season. If Kucha were to win, they would even up the two tribes' numbers going into a merge where just being one member down is a death sentence. Losing the final challenge would mean that Kucha's decimation would be all but certain. The entire game drama was put on hold though, as Michael Scoopin would fall hands first into the tribe fire just one day before said final tribal immunity challenge.
I was blowing on the fire and the smoke went right in my face, and I inhaled it. And I passed out.
Look at these things.
Keep your hands in the water.
Oh my God.
I can't decide whether I should keep trying to bend them or not.
What would follow was Survivor's first ever medical evacuation. Scoopin was airlifted out on a helicopter and, as predicted, the Ogakors had full control of the merge, leading to an all-Ogakor Final 3. Mike's return to Survivor after a 23-season hiatus marked the longest stretch of time that any two-time Survivor player had ever gone in between their two seasons. Unlike Russell Swan's, Scoopin's return to the challenge side of Survivor had been anything but a disaster. Scoopin's tribe, Tandang, had 0 losses and 1 first-place finish through the season's first 3 challenges. Like Russell Swan's return, things were also rocky back at camp for the returner. For starters, Mike proved that his fire incident from Season 2 was likely not as out of left field as it seemed at the time, as he went on to injure himself all over with cuts and bruises. Most notably, an unlucky dive during the Day 8 immunity challenge shattered a diving mask all over his face, leaving it bloody despite the tribe's win. Strategically, Mike has a tight number 1 with the former Facts of Life star Lisa Welchel. However, even she might not be as reliable an alliance member as she seems. When confronted by the tribe schemer, Pete Yurkowski, Lisa showed no opposition to blindsiding Mike if and when they do lose an immunity challenge.
So just tell me what to do and I'll follow your lead.
All I need from you is when I tell you to vote for somebody, to vote.
Okay.
So, at the end of the day, even stoic tribe leaders like Russell Swan or Michael Scoopin aren't safe from the vote if they lose this challenge today. But even though this challenge has been neck and neck between Matt Singh and Tandang thus far, Scoopin and Swan should be feeling pretty good, as they're on the tribes currently in the first and second place positions. Coming into this challenge, no one would have expected Kalabao, the third tribe, to be trailing. Through the first 3 challenges, they've lost none and have 2 first-place finishes to their name. The thing is, their veteran player is the only one of the 3 this season to not be a well-known leader in a previous season. His name is Jonathan Penner, a love him or hate him Blippi underdog who's played not once but twice before. While being one of Survivor's most analytical players, Penner also had a habit of making enemies with nearly everyone. His first season in Cook Islands proved to be his most villainous when he shockingly mutinied from his own tribe into an underdog position that he would never get out of.
If you want to move, step off your mat and join the other tribe. 3, 2, Candace is mutiny. 1. Jonathan mutinies at the last second. That is it.
Eventually, his pleas to his castaways weren't enough and Jonathan was voted out unanimously. Taking his untrustworthy reputation into his second season in Micronesia, Penner got into an argument with Sari Fields on day 8 which put him at the bottom again. Except that instead of being voted out this time, he had to be medically evacuated because of a seriously infected knee injury.
No way.
So this isn't even a case of another afternoon, I'll come check you later today.
I can only recommend, for the sake of his leg and his life, that he leaves the game now.
That takes us to season 25, where Penner totally turned around his act and led his tribe Kalabao to an amazing win streak, right? Well, not exactly. Penner found himself as an underdog yet again when his tribe member and former MLB MVP Jeff Kent rallied the newbies on the tribe against the seasoned vet. Kalabao's challenge dominance prolonged Penner's imminent demise, but also gave him enough time to find the tribe's hidden immunity idol that, given that Penner knew when to play it, would give him an extra 3 days in the game. Being the clever player that he is, Penner told Jeff Kent about his idol in an attempt to win some favor and maybe form an alliance. It worked. and Jonathan, along with Kent and Calabao's remaining man Carter, formed a 3-person alliance. All would seem good, except that the 3 women also formed an alliance, leaving the situation rocky at best if Calabao found themselves at Tribal Council. At best, Penner could play his idol and be confirmed to survive the night. At worst, a deadlock 3-3 vote could happen, leading to a rare Survivor event that hasn't happened in 21 seasons. You see, if a vote ties twice at Tribal Council, a deadlock occurs which turns the game into one of chance. As punishment for not coming to any conclusion, most of the tribe members put their hands into a bag, and whichever one pulls out the miscolored rock is out of the game just like that. With that possibility on the table, no one wants to go to Tribal Council. However, given that they're dead last in this current challenge, that doesn't seem like such a distant possibility anymore. For a comeback win, it's going to come down to Jonathan Penner's foe-turned-friend Jeff Kent. With Matt Singh and Tandang having already multiple pots smashed each, Kent will have to make up a lot of time. Not only does Jeff have Calabao's fate in his hands, but also the legacies of Survivor veterans and newbies. On one side, Matt Singh has a chance to put themselves into the driver's seat for the first time this season. If Malcolm can finish the job, he would be Matt Singh's hero, and Russell Swan would be one step closer to reaching the merge, something that he absolutely would have done had he not put his life on the line in Samoa, a season where he ended up not even being the most notable person named Russell. If they blow their first major lead of the season, Swan has to go to his 4th Tribal Council in a row, and find a way to crack into Malcolm and Denise's tight bond, or else he'll be sent packing. On Tandang, Scoopin is hoping his tribe can seal a win and continue their season-long momentum into whatever comes next. Like Swan, he too is hoping to finally reach a merge after being known as Survivor's biggest what-if for over 11 years. Jeff Kent could shock everyone though and bring Calabao back into a challenge where it once seemed like they had no chance. Doing so would not only keep their tribe fully strong, but also cement Jonathan Penner into his first dominant position in 3 seasons. If Kent can't pull through, Calabao is looking straight at a 3-3 deadlock at Tribal Council, which could end up being the first rock draw since Season 4, leaving anyone up for grabs.
Matt Singh down to 2 pots left. Jeff knocks another pot out. 4 pots left for Calabao. All right, hardest for the win. Yeah!
Okay, so Tandang wins the challenge, and it's now down to Calabao and Matt Singh. Welcome to a moment in Survivor history.
Tandang wins immunity and stake reward. We're still going for a second. Matt Singh so close they can taste it. Malcolm misses again. Jeff can win it. Yeah! Calabao wins immunity.
Same old crap.
4th person voted out of Survivor Philippines.
Oh yeah, and about that never-before-seen Survivor strategy I mentioned before. Denise and Malcolm, the final 2 members of Matt Singh, both make it to the final 4, and their underdog story got capped off by one of them winning. A new theoretical strategy was born called the Intentional Matt Singh, where a tribe in a 3-tribe season could purposefully lose, allowing for the few remaining players to become free agents at the merge and make it to the end just like Malcolm and Denise did. This idea remained as only a superfan fantasy for over 8 years until David Voce, the 3rd boot of Survivor 41, admitted in a post-game interview that some of his tribe members openly talked about the possibility. The strategy never really panned out for Voce and his Yase tribe, but it goes to show that any given Survivor moment, even a seemingly random Day 10 challenge, can have a massive effect on Survivor history. Thanks for watching.